baby mama, I'm tired of you. You doing things that a child will do. I'm gonna pull up. I'll run your over. I'll run your dumb ass over. Somebody come get that bitch. Huh?
You heard me.
What you saying?
Why you up there trying to prank for them? I pranked your window.
Just not my car.
I don't give a f*** party.
It ain't in my name.
You driving it, bitch. So you responsible.
I'm taking it back today.
I don't give a f***.
It's a rental.
I don't care.
Move.
I'm finna take your tag.
But y'all see this shit I gotta go through. She's like, but I'm so tired of this bitch. Well, y'all do not understand, boy. I wish I never dealt with her, boy, ever again in my life.
David Edens, a 22-year-old father of two, had a toxic co-parenting relationship with the mother of his child, 25-year-old mother of four, Kadisha Bryson. Their relationship was marked by frequent fights and verbal taunts, and despite their shared responsibility for their child, they struggled to communicate and co-parent effectively. Sadly, one day the two would be involved in yet another altercation, and this time it would escalate to murder. Welcome to Viral Crimes. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Greenville, South Carolina. 22-year-old David Edens, a resident of Greenville, was the father of two children. He had aspirations of being a rapper and would post videos of him rapping to his social media account. David Edens was previously in a relationship with 25-year-old Kadisha Bryson. Kadisha was the mother of three children, and the two would have a daughter together. After the relationship ended between Kadisha and David, the two continued to co-parent their daughter. Their co-parenting relationship was very toxic, with the two often fighting, calling each other names, and provoking one another. David Eden recorded one of these interactions with his baby's mother and posted the video on his Facebook page. In the video, the two can be observed taunting each other, with Kadisha often issuing verbal threats to David, which he would repeatedly laugh at and find funny.
You smoke blacks now? Losing yourself. You a clown. You a clown. Look at her. Look, she done hurt herself, y'all. Look at her. No. That bitch got a black mile behind her ear. No, she losing herself. Baby mama. Baby mama. Why you doing all that?
I want to talk to you.
Where my child at? Can we go take the DNA test today?
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Oh.
Why would you do that?
She play too much, man. Hey, look though. Somebody help me, please. Gotta make sure she ain't in my rear view, y'all. She'll try to run me off the road. Pull up. I didn't think she was gonna pull up. I'm running. This is fucking circling the block. Look, y'all. Look, she went around the car now. But this is crazy. Oh my God, look at her. She but it's different type of psychopath. This psychopath. But I'm scared of this. I am scared. Somebody help me. Help me, please. And she not gonna stop chasing me. Y'all don't understand. The bitch is a psychopath. Look, she gonna try to hit me. Kind of shit, man. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all this though. So y'all on here laughing and shit, baby in the car that ain't even a month old yet doing all this dumb. It's a child ain't even a month yet. What the f you doing? You feel what I'm saying?
Sadly, this toxic relationship would soon take a deadly turn. On Tuesday, November 19, 2019 at about 10:35 p.m., deputies were called to the Motel 6 on Wade Hampton Boulevard to a potential burglary. Upon arrival, they discovered the lifeless body of David Edens Jr. in one of the rooms, suffering from a gunshot wound. Detectives started their investigation and spoke with other hotel guests. One of the guests at the motel who observed the tragic incident witnessed a woman desperately searching for someone. They observed the woman busting out windows at several rooms at the hotel until she found who she was looking for. They observed her locate the individual, and once she located him, she started yelling at him to come outside the room. She yelled, "Just come outside the room." Once he came out, the witness observed her shoot the man. The man was later identified as David Edens and the woman as Kadisha Bryson. The witness, who was also staying at the motel, described David as a friendly person, and she is disturbed by what she witnessed.
Breaking news all morning. Deputies have found one person dead inside a Motel 6 in Greenville.
Now, Greenville County deputies arrived here late last night responding to a reported burglary. That's when they found that man inside of one of those rooms with a wound. The coroner's office did identify that man as 22-year-old David M. Edens Jr. He was pronounced dead at the scene, and the coroner's office estimates that time of injury and death was around 10:35 last night. So an autopsy will be performed later today to determine the cause and manner of death, but several people who were coming in and out told me they didn't hear anything last night, and this is the first time they've noticed anything unusual, except one person told me they did hear a woman screaming loudly around that time of night. However, I did talk to one woman who just said that she's a little concerned living here.
It was just scary. I just went in my room and stayed in there, and this is the first time I've been out since last night.
David's family reports that he was no longer in a relationship with Kadisha when she came looking for him at the motel. David's family was devastated when they learned of his death, and they were even more shocked to learn that Kadisha was the person responsible. "We accepted her as family," said David's cousin. "You had a child by him. We accepted you as family. We didn't treat you any different. We would have never thought that you would be the one to take his life." In David's last Facebook post, which was published just a couple of hours before he was shot and killed, Edens spoke on choosing to be single, rather than being in a toxic relationship. He posted, "All I know is I will stay single for life before I enter another toxic relationship. Facts." It appears that David realized certain relationships were not good for him, and decided to make better choices for himself in the future. Kadisha Bryson surrendered herself to law enforcement and admitted that she was responsible for shooting her baby's father, which she claimed was an accident. Authorities arrested her and she was detained at the Greenville County Detention Center. She was charged with murder, possessing a weapon during a violent crime, and causing malicious damage. On Wednesday, November 20, 2019, Kadisha Bryson appeared at Greenville County Bond Court for her bond hearing. David's loved ones were also at the hearing to listen in.
We just want to know why. He left his kids, he left his family. The rest is around the holidays. And we just want to know why. I never tried. I'm sorry. Mary, I'm sorry. Alicia, I love y'all. I'm sorry that was my intention. The gun went off. I would never try to hurt him. He's a great man. I'm sorry, Mary. All right.
At the hearing, Kadisha expressed remorse for the killing of David and issued a tearful apology directly to Edens' family, stating that she did not intend to kill him and that the gun went off accidentally. "I would never try to hurt him," she said to Edens' family members. "He was a great dad. I'm sorry, man." David's family did not accept Kadisha's apology.
We are in front of the Greenville County Detention Center where Kadisha Bryson is now behind bars, accused of killing her baby's father. Now a family is planning a funeral before they plan their holidays.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Michaela, I'm sorry.
Kadisha Bryson gave a tearful apology to the victim's family during Wednesday's bond hearing, an apology the family says they find hard to receive.
And the question is why?
Now with the holidays drawing near, Edens' family says things won't be the same without him.
He left his family behind, left his kids behind. Her daughter has the mother's in jail now. The dad is gone, he has a son. And the question is why?
you had time to think, you weren't looking for him.
The victim's family tells us that Bryson and Edens have a child together, but they are no longer a couple. Now the father is gone and the mother is behind bars. The child will spend the holidays with family members.
The family is now concentrating on being there for David's 2 children, who now have to grow up without the father who took care of them.
David Edens Sr. says now his son is gone.
He got 2 sons and a daughter.
He says the two used to be in a relationship and have a daughter.
He's a good father and everything. He's a good dude.
And even though David Edens Sr. wants justice, he says no one wins.
I'm sorry for her too, because she got other kids, and it's all about the kid right now. He gone. She pretty much gone now.
David Edens was in a toxic co-parenting relationship with the mother of his child. One of the most dangerous aspects of a toxic relationship is the potential for threats to turn deadly. Threats, whether they are physical or emotional, can escalate quickly, and it is important to take them seriously. Even if you do not think that your baby mother would act on her threats, it is always better to be safe than sorry. If you are co-parenting with someone who is abusive, it is essential to take steps to protect yourself and your child. One option is to seek a court order for supervised visitation. Another option is to seek the help of a family law attorney or a mediator who can help you negotiate a safe co-parenting arrangement. What happened to David Eden was a tragedy. Kadisha's actions that day affected many lives. His 2 kids have to grow up without their father because of a senseless act of violence, and Kadisha's 4 kids have to grow up without their mother. This case is still ongoing.
So here at the Onyx Report, we talk about intimate partner homicide and intimate partner violence often. And one of the things we point out is that this is not uncommon for Black men to be on the receiving end of. We act like, in many respects, Black men can't be vulnerable, but this is far from the truth. And part of what I wanted to do today was not just cover it salaciously, or whatever. It's really to talk to brothers who are going through this. See, the thing is, we've been conditioned in many respects to perceive this as normal. Too many of us, I would argue. I mean, hell, even I grew up in a context where violence from women was considered part of what being in a relationship was. Even the older dudes would say things like, that's just what being with a woman is, or being with a Black woman is. We take it as a norm. We don't think about these things as intimate partner violence. When Black men even think about domestic violence, they're not thinking about situations they endure often. Situations very much like what we saw in the video. Often when you ask brothers who are going through that kind of thing, like the cat in the video, and you say, well, hey man, do you think you've been domestically abused? He look at you strange. Because domestic abuse is something that happens to women, and more particularly white women. It's not something that happens to Black men, right? So we're completely out of sync with that in terms of where we find ourselves, and we have to actually come to grips with this. So I'm doing this video to talk to brothers who are going through some degree of this. It doesn't even have to be to the full extent, obviously. You don't have to have been shot. But if you're going through any degree of this disrespect, this argumentativeness, violence on any level, and I'm just here to tell you preemptively, it's not worth it. If you're doing it to stay in there for the kids, or you've become entangled in this person's life where you have kids with them, or you love the kids they already had, I'm just trying to say it's not worth it. Remove yourself safely. And that can still be dangerous. We saw in this video that he actually, broke up with her. He was trying to remove himself. He claimed that he was going to stay single, and he didn't want to get into any of these kind of issues. She still showed up at his hotel, broke the glass, yelled at him, called him out, and then shot him in the chest. Leaving can be dangerous. But at the end of the day, it's safer and it's better for you because this kind of thing is draining. The stress of it can take years off your life. And I'm just talking about the argumentativeness. I'm not even dealing with the physical violence yet, even that. Because we both know, even though I would say to call the authorities, you could end up in handcuffs as a Black male. I'm a big advocate for videotaping. Anytime something goes down, please do so. Protect yourself. But at the end of the day, the moment you get an indication that this is a reality with this person, start really thinking carefully about how to extract yourself from the dynamic. Because one way or another, it's going to take years off your life. Slow, fast, doesn't matter. Either way, it's not worth it. And I'm not going to get into the whole, you should have seen the red flags. We get real, self-righteous about this kind of shit. There are people who have thought thoroughly on how to perform an act until you are invested. And by invested, I mean married, you have a kid with them, or hell, you could just fall in love with their kids. And as long as you're invested enough to want to be there, they will put you through hell for whatever reasons. And sometimes those reasons are due to verifiable psychological issues. I have students, or I should say former students who've graduated, they're alumni now, but they'll reach out to me and give me updates on their lives. And one particular brother told me, he said, I met this woman, she was great. We dated for a couple years. We got married, we had a kid, all hell broke loose. Turned out she was hiding the fact that she was, what is the term? Goodness, what is it called? I'm blanking on it. She had psychological issues, basically. It's like severe ones that he never knew to even ask about. His family, her family, didn't even tell him anything about. And now he has a child with this person. And even though he broke up with her, they went through a divorce, she still terrorizes his life through his child. So these are not always things that you're just going to be able to see, and the stronger you are, the more red flags you'll catch. It doesn't work that way. The reality of it is anybody can get caught up with someone who knows how to hide it well enough. But either way, my question is more to the brothers who are in it. Do you have the wherewithal to leave? Do you have the sense of self-value to value yourself enough to leave? See, these are things that we're not taught. For the most part, black males aren't really taught to value themselves. We're taught to be a value to others, especially women. And that's not necessarily all bad. It's just a problem when the culture does not provide a counterpart to that investment. In other words, when you're trained to give, but women are not trained to reciprocate, they're just trained to receive, that creates a one-way dynamic that will eventually drain you. And in the context of abuse, you're expected to receive it and accept it and shut up about it. If you don't like it, or if you point it out as a problem, there's something wrong with you. See, these are the kinds of things that we have to begin to talk about and articulate, because right now in popular culture, there's a one-way dynamic about what's acceptable to talk about in regard to intimate partner violence or intimate partner homicide in the black community. And that is that women and children are victims, men are aggressors, end of discussion. And to the extent that men are victims, or men have experienced this and been made vulnerable by it, it's not worth talking about because the numbers are so few. This is the kind of common attitude, but it's bullshit. At the end of the day, when you talk about intimate partner homicide, there's really a couple hundred people, black male and female, per year, a few hundred that die. In other words, you got a better chance of being struck by lightning than being killed by an intimate partner. That's the reality for men and women. But to the extent that it happens, yes, it happens more to women, but men aren't too far behind. On a given year, you might find 250 women and 175 to 200 men that have been killed by intimate partner homicide. So the numbers are low. And when you leverage that against 40 plus million people, they're infinitesimal to some extent. And somehow black men become measured by the percentage of men that have committed those acts as a whole, which makes no sense in and of itself. Shout out to Dr. Curry, who would point that out regularly. But the other issue is the numbers are not always reflective of reality anyway, because there's a dynamic that tends to happen more from women to men than the reverse. And that is hiring other people to cause him harm or kill him. I call it pit bullying. But, at the end of the day, it could be violence by proxy. There's a lot of ways to talk about it. Assassins, generally speaking, poor women tend to use sex to manipulate men into doing their, dirty work and assaulting, if not killing, other men that, they want eliminated. Wealthier women pay assassins to do it. Hell, at the end of the day, black men as a whole, we've been socialized by women our entire lives. From birth to graduate school, whether it's in your home with your family or whether in schools, we're socialized by women as authority figures. And we learn to hyper prioritize her well-being, her emotional status, her protection. As much as we don't get credit for those kind of things, we do. And we're socialized to. Even to go against that programming, you actually have to recognize that it's there. But it is how many of us are. And so for the most part, protecting women is something we're raised to do. But we're also not raised to question whether or not those women deserve protection. That's not our training. We will argue with each other to the ground, and may even jump into fistfights over the question of whether or not a woman, let alone women, deserve blind sacrifice. We'll kill each other before we'll even reflect on whether or not that should be the case. So that's how deeply invested we are in this idea, even to our own detriment. So whether we're manipulated with sex and the promise of a relationship, or whether we're paid to do it, and we've desensitized ourselves to the process to such a degree where it's worth, a few dollars, or whether it's because we've been conditioned to serve women overall. This is a constant. And those things, the reason I brought that up is they don't make the data. In other words, when we talk about women being killed more, that's pretty straightforward, right? For the most part, women use weapons more often than men. They use objects. Men tend to use their own hands when it comes to domestic violence. And because men are stronger, it can very easily escalate into murder. I fully put that on the table. That definitely happens. However, what people don't talk about is that women and men are different, and women use different tactics. Where they may not be stronger than men, they tend to be able to use other means. Some of that includes assassins. And when you have one man that kills another on behalf of a woman, unless all of that is able to be proven, it just comes out in the data as another man killing a man. But again, when you go back to those couple hundred people per year, it's a valid question to raise how many of those men were killed because of a woman. But my point here is not about attacking women to say how much they kill men or whatever. My real point in posting this video is to say to black men that find themselves in some degree of this, it's not worth it. Even if you don't feel it, even if you don't truly know and understand what I'm saying, give yourself the benefit of the doubt to get out of a toxic situation and live life long enough until you can value yourself to really feel what I'm saying. Just make it a logical decision to get out of a toxic situation until you can grow into valuing yourself enough to not be here anymore. Because those relationships, I'm telling you, you will waste years and may even end up doing jail time. And nobody will empathize with you. Or very few, I should say. Maybe except for brothers who've been through it. But at the end of the day, again, you're worth more than that. So consider getting out of it and moving on.